Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, here we all are in the middle of a field. Yeah, it's part 3 of the personal reset series, and we're getting out of our rooms, we're getting moving, we're into the real world. And as you can see, I'm on my grind set. I'm a proper Sigma male in his natural habitat, which is alone in a field. Anyway, here we all are though. So let me just tell you, for a large part of my life, I was the sort of person who had all the ideas, had all the plans, but no execution at the end of it. And what I want to do in this video is just share with you some of the mindset, the grind set, to actually act upon your ideas and get results at the end of them. One of the ambitions I always had was to write and publish my own book, which I never managed to do up until last year, when you may have seen I published Running for Success, which made it to the top of the Amazon charts for a brief time. Now, the difference between that version of me which managed to write and publish the book and the version that never did all comes down to a few things, and I'm going to share with you a lot of them today. So let's get started while not facing the sun. Number 1, we want to set short-term goals within the long-term goal. Now, the analogy I'm going to give you for this is marathon training, right? How does one go from absolute beginner to being able to run a marathon in just about 4 months? Well, what you do is you take the day you're going to run and you count backwards, you reverse engineer it. You take the 26.2 mile distance and think, how can I train myself in shorter spurts to be able to get to that kind of level where I can run for 4 or 5 hours at a time? And so what I did when it came about the scheduling was I had short-term goals. So I had to first be able to run 7 miles before I could run 8 miles. And then you go to 10 miles, and then 11, and then 13, and it goes all the way up until eventually you're in a position where you can confidently say, yes, I am capable of doing 26.2. Now, not only does this keep your progress on track, but it's also very motivating as well, because you can see your progress actually starting to take shape as you're doing it. You need those short-term markers that you are on the right track, because it's very easy to get disheartened when we're working on a long-term project. Hence why it's nice to separate our success into stages. So don't think of the end goal as the big successful moment, but rather think of these little stages. Pheasant just jumped away. But rather think of success as being the achievement of little stages throughout the journey. Number 2, seek every single opportunity to turn your knowledge into results. So recently for me, I'm learning to code at the moment. I'm learning on free code camps, so I don't have to pay anything, which is really cool, because their courses are amazing. And you learn a lot very quickly, and you get lots and lots of knowledge. But I don't know if you've had this, where you read a book, take a course on Udemy or something, and after a few months, because you don't do anything with it, you completely forget it. Because you're going to find when it comes to putting the knowledge into real life, practical situations, it's going to be a lot different than what you're expecting. It's like with the coding, when I do my projects, I get the blank canvas and I suddenly think, what the bloody hell do I have to do here? If I want to create my own personal portfolio page, it's easy to think of all the things that I've learned and think, yeah, I can do that. But then when it actually comes to building the HTML, putting in the CSS, the cascading style sheets, it's a lot different than what you imagine it to be. So you want to build up experience in that regard. Don't be the sort of person that only spends their life in theory. Get yourself out there and start doing some practical stuff as quickly as you can. There's nothing like a September sunset. Number 3, we want to seek feedback as much as we can. Now, I'm doing this with my UX design course, which I'm working on at the moment. And obviously with design, if you're making something for an end user, you have to get feedback from people, because ultimately you're not creating things for you in that context, you're creating things for an end user. So it's important to go out and seek feedback, and through that you improve it. It links with the learning by doing, because once you actually test your idea, your design project with real people, that's when you find out how successful you're really being. And when it comes to feedback, as long as it's constructive criticism, there really are no L's to be taken. Every point of improvement is going to make you a bit better, so there's dubs either way. Now, number 4, very closely related, we need to find mentors. We need to find people we respect, who are held in great esteem with lots of experience in their particular areas, who are going to guide us down the right path. And I know it sounds like common sense, but I say this because I'm the sort of person who's a little bit too used to being the oldest person in a group, the one which people, the person who's playing the supporting role, the guiding role, rather than the other way round. And I don't actually have that other side enough, really, which is silly, because there's always someone with more experience, there's always someone that's got this wisdom to impart on you. You have to go out and seek it, and again, sometimes it comes down to many different things, like maybe anxiety, maybe You don't really want to be criticised. It depends, but at the end of the day, these are always excuses, and they are, whichever way you look at it, preventing you from progressing. I have this a lot in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, where obviously there's an instructor, but everyone else in my class, I'm the least experienced there, and all of them make astounding teachers. You learn so much in a very short amount of time. You can't study these things. You can't study. Again, it links back to taking theory and actually using it in practical situations. Study can only get you so far. You can't gain experience from just being embedded in theory the entire time. And in an environment like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you're always going to be mentored by people, and it's actually had such an impact recently over the past few months. Done me a lot of good, and I'm really looking forward to continuing that. It's nice to be the supported one for once in a while. It makes a nice difference. And finally, number 5 is something that I feel don't get talked about nearly enough. Now let me just say, it's all very good having mentors, it's all good having these wise and great people that have made it in life, guiding you through everything. But let's not overlook how much you can learn from someone who's just one step ahead of you. Now online there's a lot of gurus about. I'm sure you've seen plenty of them. They're bloody everywhere. We'll take Gary Vee for example. Now I'm sure he knows plenty about business. I mean, he's become very successful, but look at all of his advice. He's become so far detached from the beginner that he once was. He's progressed so far in that time that he genuinely can't relate to what steps need to be taken for people that are beginning an entrepreneurial journey, any kind of journey. They get so far that all of the steps they've taken to success all get sort of amalgamated into this really generic and watered down advice. If you watch a Gary Vee video, you'll find very quickly that it's generic advice with no real substance to it, that's purely there to motivate you, and it does a very good job of that. The Gary Vee's good at really hyping you up, but there's no real practical steps, there's no like finer detail that required to actually get somewhere. When I see authors giving advice about how they've built their readership, they always come from a place of, oh, I remember when I was a beginner, I only had like 50 people reading my books, I only had 50 readers at the time. And it's like, that's your starting point that you're given in this explanation, but think of the people that are starting right from zero. How do you get those 50 readers? Or with YouTube, how do you get those first 50, 100 subscribers? What specific steps do you take? And you'll notice that with all of this advice, it all gets boiled down to be consistent, network, like all these generic things which are like common sense at this point. If you ever watched an advice video, you'll have listened to the same things over and over again. So when you find someone who's just a little one step ahead of you, the process is more fresh in their mind. They can be more concrete and they can be real with you. That's why you want to seek out people that are just a little bit ahead of you on the curve so you can catch up to them, and then gradually always seek the next step ahead. But anyway, yeah, that's a few little bits of advice to motivate you for this upcoming year, because well, I'm celebrating my personal reset, so it's a new year for me. Hope this has been of use. I think it's been helpful. I'm going to get on my way now, continue the grind set. But yeah, that's the personal reset. Envision, enchant, execute, making our daily lives that little bit more interesting and helping us plan and achieve what we've always aspired to do. So thanks very much guys for watching this little video series over the past few weeks. I would really appreciate your feedback and what you thought, what kind of videos you want to see from this channel. I know a lot of people come from the James Scholes video and I really do appreciate all of the comments I get on that. But what kind of things do you want to see? Because I don't really have a set idea on where I want to take this channel yet, but so I'm open to suggestions. But just want to say big thanks for following the series. Hope it's been of a help, and I really wish you guys all the best in all that you're working on. But yeah, big love to you all. Take care, and I'll catch you guys later.